Woohoo.
Well, hello, everybody. Well, it's not Christmas yet, so I'm going to take this off, but we'll come back to this in a minute. So welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 162 on the 13th of December, 2017. We got a few quick announcements before we get into it. Let's roll down the line here quickly and say hello. So, Chris, how you doing today?
Doing good. Unfortunately, it's warm again in Austria, and I'm not amused about that because I actually want to go snowboarding on the weekend, but we'll see.
Gotcha. Well, speaking of warm, Hernan, how you doing?
Hey guys, yeah, it's really warm. It's rainy today. Hey Bradley, quick thing. Did you activate a cameraman thing on the?
Hey, you prick! I got it. But thanks.
Okay. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you guys.
Awesome, Marco, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, man? I'm good. I'm excited actually. Get back into the groove. You know, get back into trying to shove crap down Google's throat, making them like it.
Awesome,
So,
awesome.
Are you nearing the end of your recovery period?
I'm going home tomorrow, man.
Oh, sweet. Okay. So, Google beware.
Bradley, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here. It's fucking cold in Virginia, though. I can tell you that. It's really cold today. So it's even cold in my house. It typically gets really cold up here too. So I'm a bit shivering. So, but I'm happy to be here, man. Let's get started. Oh yeah, I know you probably got a couple announcements, and then I got one too before we get started. So
Definitely. All right. So the ears were not just because I love wearing them, which I do actually. This is my favorite Christmas hat. So my wife bought it for me a couple years ago. Wore it to a company thing when I was an engineer. So anyways, moving on. The actual announcements have to do with holidays and semantic mastery. So we're going to have some announcements. Last year we did kind of a price matching, or not a price matching, but a percentage of our holiday sales, and we donated those to two charities, the Marine Corps Toys for Tots funds, and then I believe it was the Shriners Hospital for Children, right, Bradley? Mm-hmm. This year we got something a little bit different worked out, and we're still hammering out the details, but we want to let everyone know that we are going to be doing something this year, so please stay tuned for that, and when we have more information, we'll let you know. But again, it's going to be aimed towards children again and helping people out. So in addition to that, 1 week from today, we're going to be doing the holiday Hump Day Hangout. So we're going to guarantee a 2-hour Hump Day Hangout. And so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a couple little presentations, but mostly just extended Q&A. And if we get more questions, I believe, Bradley, you've said that you're willing to go the distance if people have got questions, right?
yeah, we'll do it.
All right. So we'll be hanging out. We might have a beer. I'm just saying that might happen on my end. So, all right. And then today is the day. Last week we announced it. There's been a ton of updates both to Syndication Academy and RYS Reloaded. So after Hump Day Hangouts, we're hopping off. We got to update the prices on those. So Syndication Academy is going up by like 50% monthly, and then RYS Reloaded is going up from $3,000 to $4,000. So you literally have an hour if you're watching live. If not, it's probably already happened. So just want to make that known to everybody since we sent out the emails about that.
And just so people know, we have 6 or 7 update webinars that we've done since we released RYS Reloaded. We have another one coming on Monday, and it's on skip navigation links. Everyone calls them jump links. The W3C calls it skip navigation. It's jump links or hashtag links or whatever you want to call it. That's what it is. We're having a webinar on it. Everyone's talking about it. I'm going to go in there and show you how it's done. And so that's the kind of stuff we're doing in RYS Academy Reloaded. In case you're on the fence, this is a really good time to get in.
Yeah. Also, what you might want to mention what you talked about yesterday's webinar or Monday's webinar. I mean, don't reveal it, but I'm just saying, like, it was supposed to be one of the best.
It's automation, dude. One of our students actually managed to semi-automate the building of drive stacks, and so Rob took it a bit further. He went in the lab and just came up with something really awesome to make taking over a state. It's like SERP Shaker kind of and Lead Gadget or mass page creators, that kind of thing, but for G sites, dude. I mean, we're getting into that type of thing. We're taking some of the manual out, and so that you can just mass produce these drive stacks and just go after an entire state if you want to. If that's what you want to do, then you have the ability to do it, and we just made it a lot simpler. And just that, I mean, just that webinar is worth the price of admission to RYS Academy Reloaded.
Nice.
Totally agree.
Yeah, important to say automation while remaining the same quality of the stack or Google Drive.
Absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying that we maintain all of the standards, that you do all of the interlinking and everything else that's involved, of course.
Yeah, just forced to mention because like certain people always go over to like other ends and then I complain like, yeah, it's not the quality, and then we see like, well, it's not from us.
Cool. All right, real quick before we get into it. Oh man, Hernan switched his picture up. All right, so Hernan's got looking all fancy. Awesome. Before we keep talking about pictures and weather and all that jazz, I do want to say, I know sometimes we have some new viewers. We get a few every week, and I want to say, first of all, thank you very much for being here and watching, whether you're watching live or you're catching the replay. If you are new and you're wondering where to start with the battle plan, the SEO blueprint. I'm going to pop a link in here, and you can just Google Semantic Mastery Battle Plan. Use this link and use the coupon code I'm posting on here, and you can save $75. If you don't have your free account at Serpspace, head over there. Check it out. There's some free tools as well as all of the done-for-you services, tons of them. Website got a redesign. It looks awesome. It works well, so check that out. And then if you ever have questions during the week, you can always ask them on the event page by going to semanticmastery.com/hdquestions. But first check support.semanticmastery.com. It's our kind of repository of a lot of commonly asked questions and where we get Bradley's awesome drawings and graphs and charts and stuff for posterity. So anyways, with that said, do you guys have anything else before we get started? Going once?
No. Good to go.
Going twice? All right, let's do it.
I know this is supposed to be PG, but fuck Google.
Wow. All right. So on that note, all right. Quickly, I just want to mention, if you guys have not yet been exposed to the Mindset series that I've started, I'm actually going to create a brand around it with one of our partners' help. Well, Rob, who's been helping Marco, he's kind of doing some stuff with me on that, to where I'm probably going to end up creating a brand out of it. More on that later. But for now, if you go to bradleybenner.com, I basically am doing a mindset video almost every week, but I also have started an email series, and I'm contributing to that every single day. And it's just really a thought that I want to share about something that I'm studying every morning, basically, because I spend about an hour studying mindset stuff, goal setting and all that kind of stuff every single day in the morning, first to start my day off. And so typically right after doing that, I have something that, I really want to solidify. I'm doing it for selfish reasons. I'm not going to lie, because by me, like, writing out an email about the concept that I just reviewed or learned or was reading about or listening to or whatever, it helps to solidify it in my mind so that it helps me to take action on it. And so I do that anyways. I figured I'd create an email series out of it so that it could potentially benefit others. And I've had some really good replies from people that are subscribed already. And so I recommend that you go subscribe to the YouTube channel and also to the daily email updates. If you don't like them, just unsubscribe. But if you guys need any sort of motivation, kicking the ass to get stuff done, I think it works for me. And again, hopefully you can find some value out of it. If not, just unsubscribe. Simple as that. But I encourage you to go to bradleybenner.com and check that out. All right. And then besides that, I actually had a call with somebody today that has been a follower of us for quite some time. And it was really cool to have a chance to talk with him and chat a little bit about his business and some of the struggles that he's going through. I'm not going to mention your name because I don't want to embarrass you, buddy. But it's very similar to the story that I had, the same path or journey that I'd been on. And so, those are the kind of opportunities that can come about from just kind of networking and stuff like that, guys. I'm happy to answer questions about that. All that's explained on the actual page, bradleybenner.com. So just go check it out. And, I'm here to try to help you guys to achieve more as well. All right. So with that said, I want to do one more thing, which is before we get into questions, I'm going to grab the screen. All right. So I posted this last week. I talked about this briefly. And I posted this image on here, guys. This is something that I've been developing for months, and I'm not going into specifics on how all this works, guys. If you want that, you got to come join the mastermind. But I just kind of want to give you guys, plant a seed here as to what we're doing in the mastermind starting in January for 2018. And this is one of the projects, right? So essentially what we're going to be doing, and this is a blatant pitch, guys, for the mastermind, just so you know, okay? This is a blatant pitch. No shame in this whatsoever. So this is just kind of a blown up version of it. We're zoomed in on it a bit. And this is a prospecting funnel that I had put together for the agency that we're building. And it's a vast project, and it's probably the biggest project I've ever done. Not probably, it is the biggest project that I've ever done. And I've been working on developing an automated prospecting funnel for months, and it's just working absolutely crazy. And so I just kind of wanted to share with you guys this image here. Again, I'm not going into specifics over this. I go into detail about all of this in the mastermind, and what we're doing starting in January. In fact, damn, I bet you, yeah. In fact, let's do this. I want to go take a look at something real quick. Semanticmastery.com/ I think it's MM2018. Boom, there it is. All right, so I'm just going to scroll through this rather quickly, guys, but this is essentially what we're going to be covering in 2018. This is the outline anyways. It's subject to change, there's no doubt, but this is what our proposed roadmap is, or plan for 2018. And what we're going to be doing is basically building 2 new businesses, the agency being one of them, and in a local brick and mortar business being another, which is actually going to be a gym in my local town. So we're going to be starting in January with module 1, which is PPC. And then once that's done, which is probably going to take 4 to 6 weeks for that, then we're going to switch to module 2, which is going to video. And then we're going to go into module 3, which is prospecting, outsourcing, local maps SEO, organic SEO, off-page SEO, content marketing, email marketing, business development, productivity and process hacking, landing page and conversion rate optimization. We're going to be going into all this, and literally throughout the course of the year, building in real time, essentially almost live in front of everybody in the mastermind, 2 businesses from basically the ground up, from start to finish. Obviously, the emphasis is going to be on the digital marketing aspect of those businesses, but it's going to encompass a lot more than just that. It's going to be some traditional marketing, which, you know, it can include direct mail and print and actual like live events and, you know, booths at trade shows and things like that. There's all kinds of stuff that we're going to be doing, because as marketing consultants, we should know all of this stuff, right? Because we should be able to advise our clients on how to get better results, not just from digital marketing, but from everything. It increases it elevates our value, if that makes sense. And so, and here's the other thing. As business owners yourselves, right? As trying to create and own and operate your own digital marketing businesses, there are going to be a lot of additional things that come into being a business owner that aren't typically taught in most digital marketing courses, like entity structuring, right? Corporate entities, taxes, accounting, bookkeeping, you know, legal requirements, all these different kinds of things that we're going to be talking about and kind of walking throughout the mastermind in 2018. And on top of that, we're going to be teaching throughout the webinars like we always do. So every other week we have about a 2-hour webinar. Sometimes they go longer. But then I'm going to also be doing supplemental videos to fill in the gaps that we can't cover everything in a 2-hour, you know, a 2-hour webinar every other week. So every single week, I'm going to be trying to pump out at least roughly a 1-hour video or so, where I go into more detail about all the stuff, the concepts that we cover in the live webinars, which is also the Q&A section, right? And so again, I just wanted to kind of point this stuff out and let you guys know what's coming in the store for 2018. It'd be a great year for you guys to get started, if you haven't already, to come join us, because it's literally going to be step by step as we build businesses. And I think that's going to be an incredible journey. I'm really looking forward to it. It's putting me definitely under pressure to make it happen. But part of the reason why I want to do it in this format, guys, is because I think too many courses out there, too many training programs, they only show the good. They only show what works. They don't show the stuff that happens typically in every business. And I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on Hump Day Hangouts, but about 80% of everything that I try fails. And that's the honest to God's truth. Only about 20% of the stuff that I do is successful. But I just keep trying shit all day long, all the time, until I find stuff that works. And the stuff that does work, then I scale that. And that's how you become successful. So I fail more than I succeed, right? And that's true in any business, guys. Like, as entrepreneurs, we're going to fail more than we succeed. But it only takes succeeding one or a couple of times, a few times, or succeeding in one particular thing to end up having an amazing business, right? And that's really what I want to talk about, or we're going to be covering as part of this kind of like live real-time business building project over the next year, so that people can see the type of shit that happens in normal business day-to-day operations and in trying to build and grow a business, right? Which means a lot of the stuff that we're going to do is going to fail. But I want to share that because I want people to be aware, and so that they don't feel like they're doing something wrong when they run into similar issues, right? And that's what I think happens a lot with a lot of training programs is people don't see the bad or the ugly. All they see is the good. And so when they end up going through the program and they start to run into setbacks and roadblocks and hurdles and that kind of stuff, it discourages them. I must not be good enough. I must not be doing it right. This shit doesn't work, all that kind of stuff. And then you end up quitting and looking for the next shiny object. And that is absolutely no way to build a business, right? Because you're going to run into setbacks. And I want to make sure that that is completely transparent going forward in the next year so that people can learn from those experiences and come to expect that kind of thing, right? Like I'm going to run into lots of problems as I'm choosing to build this business. I'm going to run into a shit ton of problems, but I'm determined to make it work. If 80% of the stuff I do fails, that's fine because 20% of it will work. And that 20% is going to give me financial freedom. Does that make sense? That's really what I want to be covering. And that's the way I want to teach it next year. So we encourage you guys to come join. I didn't want to spend that much time on it, guys, but I you know, this is a blatant pitch because I really truly believe that many of you guys that have been following Semantic Mastery and all the other groups out there are probably missing a lot of this. And that's something that we're gonna try our best to provide in 2018. So we encourage you to come join us. Okay. Does anybody want to add on that before we move? Questions?
No, real quick that, you know, we decided we were going to take that route over the next the next year, and it's going to be pretty awesome because, you know, one of the things of that Semantic Mastery has, as Bradley was correctly saying, is that you can come and listen to each of our voices, and we're actually out there doing this stuff, right? We're not making money from selling courses, which you know that you find a lot of people doing that. And we're actually building assets and showing you guys how to do it as we do it. So I think that's pretty powerful and pretty valuable too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thanks.
I would also add that we're not going to stop teaching SEO, organic or otherwise. We have the Facebook group where we're in there. We answer questions every day. We try to provide the best answer that we know according to what we're learning every day from what we're doing. We're also providing information through our newsletter where we give people every month actionable items that we find, whatever it is that we're finding. For example, in next month, so here's another reason why you should join. In next month's newsletter, I'm going to be sharing some information on the skip navigation links. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes on behind the scenes at Semantic.
Awesome. All right. I think we're going to get into some questions now. Fortunately, we don't really have a whole lot of questions yet. So Mel says, hey guys, what's up, Mel, by the way? She's been really active the last several weeks, so we appreciate that, Mel. She says, hey guys, I know you don't really use PBNs anymore, but I figured you might know my situation. I accidentally logged into one of my PBNs from my normal IP. Now, I didn't link to my client's website, but usually I go in with hide my ass and a different state, etc. Do you think the PBN was marked by Google as in it is risky for me to still keep it? No, Mel, okay, there's probably going to be differing opinions on this, Mel. I wouldn't sweat it. Honestly, I really wouldn't sweat it at all. If you were logging into like dozens of PBN sites from the same IP all the time, then that would create an issue. But since you've been, it sounds like you've been incredibly careful up until this point. You made one mistake. I would not sweat it. I would just carry on as normal. Just log in from other IPs going forward. That's it. Simple as that. What do you guys think? I have a couple of things on this one. Hide my ass is like the worst thing that you could use as a VPN. That's like a flag.
Their IPs are so friggin' dirty, man.
Yeah,
it's incredible. So you know, the problem is in the first part. The problem is really using hide my ass as a VPN, so that.
I think we lost Marco. You guys hearing me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, we lost Marco for a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The second part of this is PBNs. And I'm going to post a link again to my blog post from 2015 where PBNs have to be built a different way now. You can't go by the old standard. So, I mean, that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't trying to address all that. Like, as far as, you know, if you are still using PBNs, and a lot of people still do. I mean, there is still some value there. But as Marco said, that you just don't build them like you did in 2012, right? Because that way those end up becoming toxic. They create more of a problem than a benefit. So just make sure, you know, again, Mel, personally, I've got, you know, I still have several sites. A lot of them I just use for video stuff now, but I really don't sweat it because my network is so small, it doesn't really matter to me anymore. And because I use it more for videos, but, you know, for website stuff, yeah, just as long as you've been careful. I agree with Marco, though. Hide my ass is about the worst thing that you can do because so many other spammers use it. And so you're better off like getting your own set of proxies, Mel, that can be either rotated out every 30 days, or you can get permanent proxies like easy proxies. If you go to semanticmastery.com/easy proxies, that's letter E, letter Z proxies. Those are, you can request permanent proxies from them, and they're rather inexpensive, and you can use those so that you can literally marry specific, you know, assign specific IPs to certain PBN sites and just always log in with the same IP because that looks natural, right? Because typically a website owner or webmaster is going to be logging in from the same IP anyway. So you can get like, you know, 10 IPs and just kind of have 3 or 4 different sites all logging in from one specific IP and just assign those to them to where it's always the same, if that makes sense. Something like that. I'm just giving you some ideas where you can have much cleaner proxies or IPs than trying to use like hide my ass. Okay. When you get dedicated proxies, they're yours and nobody else is using them, or at least they're not supposed to be. So you can guarantee that that's a clean IP, right? So, but again, that's part of the reason why I don't like using PBNs that much anymore, because of all the different stuff now. It's like you gotta follow so many rules now to not leave a footprint. It's just crazy. So Jenny's up. What's up, Jenny? He says, what's up, crazy semantics? I am merging one local city business lead gen website into another one that reaches statewide instead of one city, moving all of its pages, posts, etc. Statewide site is steadily climbing up, and its landing pages are currently on page 2 for 4 to 5 different cities. Leads are coming in slowly. Local site is ranking top 3 for number of profitable keywords. So I have to be very careful, I guess, not to mess it up, or careful not to mess it up. I just find it very hard to come up with quality content for 2 sites in the same niche and see no reason to do SEO twice. Can you recommend the best way to do it? 301 redirect, any plugins? Let's see. An SEO Bootcamp Jeffrey recommended highly. That guy's a monster. Mentions Redirection plugin. Are you familiar with it? Any input is appreciated. Sorry for taking up so much space. No problem, Jenny. And yes, Jeffrey Smith's SEO Bootcamp is probably the best, or not probably, it's the best on-page SEO course I've ever seen, hands down. So I totally agree with you there. As far as let's see, I find it very hard to come up with quantity for 2 sites in the same niche. I'm not sure why you have 2 sites in the same niche. I see that you're taking a local site, moving it into, merging it with a statewide site. So why not just 301 redirect the local pages? Unless those local, well, you say the local site is ranking top 3, and so you don't want to mess that up. Okay, so that's why. You don't want to redirect the pages of the local site to the statewide site, because then you'll likely lose the rankings from those local pages. I mean, it's possible that the statewide pages that you've set up that are now the target URL of the redirect would rank if they were set up similarly. But if it's on a different domain entirely and things like that, first of all, there would be some dancing regardless. But even if you know, chances are it's not going to come back in the exact same spot anyways. So I would probably leave that one alone. As far as the actual content, look, if you've got content, it's the same type of site, it's the same, you know, business or whatever, then there's a couple things that you can do. One would just have it rewritten, right? Just go send the content to a you know, somebody to rewrite it. Instead of having brand new content written, they can just rewrite it. And I would have that done manually. I wouldn't go to like a content farm for that kind of stuff. Personally, I'd rather hire somebody from like Upwork where it's a lot more manual. But that's one thing that you can do. Typically what I do and I know, guys, that a lot of people that do local, especially lead gen stuff, will just clone sites and then just swap out the local modifiers. So like if it's Plumber, Dallas, Texas, and they want to do one for Plumber, you know, Atlanta, Georgia, they'll just swap out at you know, it'll be Plumber, Dallas, Texas, or Plumber, Atlanta, Georgia, but all the rest of the copy is the same. And, you know, they swap out obviously maybe logos and phone numbers and stuff like that, but the rest of the copy is the same. that apparently it still works. I haven't done that since I started in SEO back in 20,000, or building lead gen sites and doing local stuff since like way back in the day, right? I always prefer to get unique content for every site. And I know that can be kind of a pain in the ass, and it does add up in costs, guys. But to me, it's a level of security that my sites won't get all taken down in one fell swoop at some point in the future. And that may still happen anyways, but at least my content is unique, right? And so typically if I'm building like 5 lead gen sites and they're all in the same niche, they're just different cities, I'll hire 5 different writers for the content so that the content is all unique, right? And that's how I've always done it, guys. You can take existing content, especially if it's already ranking well on another site, that site, that content's been is working well. You can have that just rewritten and just slightly, right? You can even take the same content sometimes and just add additional content, switch things up a bit and make it work just to make it more unique. But again, I prefer more totally unique content personally. All right. As far as redirect plugins, there's a couple of plugins that I would recommend. Simple 301 Redirects is a plugin that I've been using for years. It's very simple, just like the name implies. Another good plugin is called, I think, Page Post Redirect. That's another pretty good option. And what I like about that is it puts a widget on each page and post editor, when you're in the WYSIWYG editor area. So like underneath the editor area, there's always the modules from plugins. And for example, like Yoast SEO or instead, which you should be using now, is Jeffrey Smith's Ultimate SEO plugin. That plugin's a hell of a lot better anyways. But that's where you put your meta descriptions and titles and all that stuff, right? So those are like widgets in the editor page. And the Page Post Redirect one will put a widget right on each poster page. So you can just direct where you want that to be redirected to. Another one that I use a lot it's called Pretty Links Pro. They have a Pretty Links Lite version that's free, but the Pro version is absolutely worth it in my opinion. I know Chris P says there's some issues with it, but I've been using that plugin for years and I like it. So
I'm old school on this, man. I find myself that I use a plugin for redirections, but then I go and check the HT access file to make sure that it's been overwritten correctly. And so since I'm doing double the work, I just stopped using plugins and just go with the HT access file and do everything from there. I just find it's easier for me.
You can also do redirection in cPanel too. So, you can do it that way. And all that does is just writes it onto the HT access file for you. So that's another way you can do it. If you're not comfortable editing in HT access files, which I'm not, you can do it in cPanel. All right. Nice, good question though. Let's see. Yeah, like I said, I would leave the local site alone, and I would go ahead and what you could do is if your statewide site starts to also rank in that same local site area, and you want to merge those two at that point, then what you could do is actually do a redirect from the local site to those pages on the statewide site once they approach that same level in the SERPs, right? But the same position in the SERPs. But something else that you could do, which is a little bit of a sneakier way, is to use a canonical, right? You can canonicalize the local URL site page URL to the statewide page URL instead. And what happens is Google will take the credit, push any of the credit from the local site to the statewide site without it being a physical backlink, which is really interesting because that can leave your competitors scratching their heads going, what the fuck's going on? Like, how is this guy ranking for this? I'm not seeing any links. Well, that's because all the work was done to the local site. You got canonicalized over to the statewide page, right? And they're not going to see that. And that's very, very powerful. And Google sometimes they're supposed to actually remove the site that's canonicalizing to the other URL from the index. But I've seen where that sometimes takes weeks. So you end up with, 2 listings on page 1 until Google decides to clear its cache, and then the one that's canonicalized to the target URL will disappear at that point. Okay. That's a very powerful way to do it too. Okay, AJ says, I'm new to the group and I'm really anxious to get started. I had 2 inquiries. You recently sent out an email recommending WP Curation Pro, and as you might guess, it's super easy way to get curated content on your WordPress blogs. Does this plugin help streamline the content curation for our networks? Does this type of automation come with penalties? On tier 2 stuff, no, AJ. It's absolutely fine on tier 2 stuff, which is what I would recommend where you would use that. I would not. I wouldn't use it guys. I'm not saying it can't be used on a money site, but I wouldn't use it on a money site unless it was like an automated money site, like an automated blog that you were just an auto blog that you set up specifically for AdSense or, you know, affiliate offers, things like that. That's different. But like client sites, things like that, I would not use that on like as content creation for my money site, right? Unless, again, unless it was an auto blog specifically set up for that reason, because that's just not the kind of content I want. I want only high quality content on my money sites. Does that make sense? And so that's why I still recommend manual curation for that, guys. It's so much, it's efficient, it's inexpensive, and the content is much higher quality. It will pass manual review. And I don't know about whether this will or not, but what, you know, these kinds of plugins are great for tier 2 stuff, guys, right? You can set up auto blogs on tier 2 and like literally, and for example, you could have like what we were talking about with Mel earlier with like PBNs. You can set up auto blogs that are themed and use them as like PBNs that you can use as tier 2 links that you can link to your tier 1 properties, your syndication network properties, anything branded, right? I wouldn't link directly to my money site with them, but I would link to tier 1 properties with them. Okay. You can use them to power up videos, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, I think, automated content can still be valuable if it's done well. And so, you know, again, it would require you to do some testing, AJ, but something like that would, in my opinion, would work really well on tier 2 or further out too. But just, I wouldn't link directly to my money site, or I also wouldn't want to put that plugin on my money site to create the content for the money site, if that makes sense. Okay. How do we use Project Supremacy with the syndication networks? I'm not sure. I don't use Project Supremacy, so it's really difficult for me to give you any advice on there. Yeah, I can't speak on that. Sorry, AJ. It just hasn't. I don't have any. I used Project Supremacy, the original version, the plugin for a few projects, but ever since then I haven't used it, so I can't really explain. Can't really comment on that, guys. Sorry. Anybody else before I move on?
Yeah, I haven't been using it much either. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Juliet Parker's up. Says, hey guys, love the show. I had a question regarding Serpspace. How many embeds is too few or too many for Video Powerhouse or Maps Powerhouse? Thanks in advance. Okay. There really is no too few or too many. It's how many does it take to get results? Really? That's really what the question is. It's not how many is too few or too many. It's what does it take to get results? And so typically what I do, and this is, I use the same method over and over again, guys, because it works for me. And that's like Video Powerhouse, for example. I'll do like 50 embeds. That's it. But I make sure that I select the correct categories and the correct subcategories. You know, I'll do the secondary embeds, things like that. But the first tier embeds, I only do 50 embeds ever. Like I drip it out usually over 14 days. So I'll select 14-day drip, 50 embeds, and then I'll select the second tier embeds too. And then I'll let it run. And then I'll wait the 14 to 21 days to check the results, because there's a little bit of lag time between the posting and the actual results, right? So I always put my, for Video Powerhouse, I put my URLs, my video URLs, the YouTube URLs into ProRank Tracker. That's what I use for tracking all my videos. And then I'll send a 50 embed blast, and then I'll wait 3 weeks, and I'll set a calendar reminder from the date that I start the Serpspace, the Video Powerhouse campaign, right? So I'll set a calendar reminder to remind me in 3 weeks to come back and check the Pro Rank Tracker results and see what kind of movement I got. And if I need more, then I'll go back and I'll set up another campaign, another 50 embeds, or I may adjust it accordingly based upon how much movement I had from that first campaign, if that makes sense, the first run. And the same thing with Maps Powerhouse. Maps Powerhouse, I don't typically just start right off the bat with 50, especially if it's a new property. Usually with Maps Powerhouse, I'm more conservative because it's not, it's still a Google property, but it's not a video. It's maps being embedded in mass quantity is less likely than videos. Does that make sense? Like logically, it's just not it doesn't happen as frequently or as commonly, right? So I try to mimic what would seem natural. I know it's not natural, but I try to make it seem like it is natural. And so with Maps Powerhouse, I might do, 20 embeds first. and then give it a few weeks and then go back and check again. With maps embeds, I've seen some slower movement than with videos typically, but that's just been my experience. I'm sure others have had different experiences. But anybody want to comment on that? I think that was a great question though. Okay. Mohammed's up. What's up, Mohammed? Hey guys, some industry like law and real estate have these sort of niche specific site solutions where the site isn't in WordPress but in HTML, and only the company they pay for the website can change it. I wouldn't really choose to work with something like this, but someone has approached me with a site like this. Is it worth working with these sites in SEO terms, or should I stick with WordPress sites? That's a great question, Mohammed, and I'll tell you exactly how I handle that whenever I run, have a potential client or prospect that has a site on a different platform or proprietary platform or any sort of other framework outside of WordPress or simple HTML. I flat out won't work on their sites. What I offer or what I will provide in those situations is consultation services. So like I'll make recommendations on what to do on the site to improve the on-page SEO of the site, right? So like I might, and I make that real clear to the prospect right up front. I just tell them, I am not going to learn another platform, another website framework or platform just to work on your project. I'm not going to do it. I don't have the time to do that, nor the desire to do it. And in your case, with the questions that you're asking, Mohammed, about this, a lot of them are proprietary and you won't have access to that stuff anyways, right? If they have a webmaster or like a third party or whatever that niche specific site solution type site, right? So the only thing you can do is provide on-page SEO consultation services, like give recommendations, which can be done via screencast and some, Google Docs and stuff like that, and hope that they'll actually implement what you provide as your advice, your consultative advice, right? And then you charge them for your consultation, and then you can do all the off-page stuff. Or the other way, which seems to be more appropriate in most of the cases I've dealt with, is to put a subdomain on their domain and then install WordPress and then do all of the SEO that we would typically do, because now you have a WordPress site to work with on the subdomain. Now, if you don't have access to their subdomain, then you could always just create a new site altogether on a different domain that like company name, like if it was companyname.com, you could do companyname.blog.com. Does that make sense? Or something like that is my point, just to have a WordPress site that you could use to do all your content promotion, your content marketing, all that kind of stuff that you would normally do, and just have all of the linking and stuff linking over to the main site, the one that's on the site, the niche specific site solutions. You want to make sure the branding is all consistent though, because otherwise it's you want to make sure Google understands that it's the same entity, it's the same company, right? It's just one site is a blog while the other site is their main site or whatever, and that's perfectly fine to do. It can be done on a subdomain or on a separate domain. There's obviously more benefit if it can be done on the subdomain, but in certain cases, sometimes all you can do is work on it's like an entirely separate domain altogether, if that makes sense. Okay, now I know, Hernan, you've done a lot of that kind of stuff too. Do you want to comment on that before I move to the next part?
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you on that regard. Like, the reality is that, can you guys hear me all right? Because yeah. I'm hearing some crackling.
Yep, I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
I think he's muted.
Oh, we just lost him.
Oh, he just.
Okay, well, we're gonna keep moving, Mohammed. I know Hernan's going to give similar advice, but I know he always has good input. So if he comes back, maybe we can get his reply. Second, this is more out of curiosity, but I noticed a local web design agency opened an office. I always thought SEO didn't really need that. What, like an office? And because outsource Kingpin, I'm getting along fine. Do you guys think it's a good idea to have an actual brick and mortar location for an SEO marketing agency? Would you, or have you done it for SM or your other agencies, Bamboo? No, I mean, you certainly can, but to me, that's why would you want all that additional overhead of paying for office space, right? Renting or leasing office space. Like, to me, that just is, it's overhead that's unnecessary. Some people like it, and some people prefer going to an office to work, and that separates their workplace from their home, which that's a problem I've had to deal with, and I've dealt with very poorly over the last 7 years that I've been doing this digital marketing business, right? Almost 8 years now. Because there's no separation between work and home for me, I feel like I should always be working, right? And I have a hard time just relaxing around my house because my office is in my house and I always know I've got a shit ton of work to do. And I feel like I should be working instead of wasting time, even when it should be R&R time, rest and relaxation time, right? So that is an issue for me. And so some people actually like having an office to go to because it separates their work from their home environment. And so that makes sense. And so you just got to, what Mohammed, you say that you're getting along fine. So if you're getting along fine, it's not an issue for you. I personally wouldn't suggest taking on additional overhead. You can, I mean, even semantic mastery, guys, we got a virtual physical address, right? So like, I mean, we have a local maps listing. In fact, it was funny. I was doing a search on this the other day. I was just actually interested in, I was looking at some old stuff that I did years ago, and take a look at this. If we say SEO Gainesville, VA, look who's ranked #1. I'm not logged in. This is Firefox, but look who's ranked #1 for SEO.
I'm not seeing that, Bradley.
You're not seeing that? Well, I'm in Virginia, so it's localizing my results.
No, I mean on your screen.
I'm seeing it.
Oh, are you?
Well, I was. Now I'm not.
Seeing it here too.
How about now?
Yeah.
Works for me.
Okay. All right. So anyways, my point is, guys, you know, like semantic masteries, it ranked for SEO Gainesville, which is just because that's where our virtual address is, right? And it's funny because like semantic mastery is not really an SEO agency. We teach, and it says internet marketing services, the category, but we're ranked there anyways. And it's probably because we get a ton of, you know, a lot of traffic and things like that. So, and we're just ranked there for that, which is interesting because we've never actually optimized for like SEO Gainesville at all. Because it's not, we're not looking to take on SEO clients, if that makes sense. So anyways, my point is that, yeah, you don't need to have a physical location if you want, so that you can get a Google My Business profile, which I do recommend, absolutely. And you don't want to use your own address, then I would recommend that you go set up one of the PO boxes. That's what we've done, and it works.
Yeah. I would say too, like, don't make it more complicated than you need to. You know, if you find out you need it, great. But if you're just asking yourself, should I do this? But there's no reason or data behind it, don't make your life more complicated for no reason.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say before I drop off, regarding Mohammed, the other question about the HTML versus WordPress sites. I work with clients that had some other solutions like, I don't know, Magento or Volution or some e-commerce like Shopify, and I always default to the subdomain WordPress solution for SEO. Always, like 100%. And if they need something specific done, for example, in terms of funnels, I always default to ClickFunnels. Even if they are working, no, I have lead pages, or I have this, I have that, you know, can you work on, no, fuck no. So.
Yep. Carolyn Martin, this looks like a question for Marco. Marco, you want to answer this one? Hey guys, thanks for all your actionable information you provide. I'm really curious about RYS Academy Reloaded. Do I need a GMB, Google My Business listing, to order an RYS Reloaded stack?
The short answer is no, you don't need one. The long answer is that yes, you should have one, because what we're all about is that entity. We want that entity to be as real, and this is, I'm doing air quotes, as real as possible to Google, because I mean it's in the black book. And Carolyn, if you're not in RYS Academy Reloaded, I suggest that you go in there, because we have the black book, and in the black book we explain step by step why you should have the GMB. It makes your life so much easier when it comes to ranking, to have that entity, to have Google look at that entity and to see, okay, I have a real person with a real business and a real address, and they're trying to rank for their business in this set of keywords. It's so much simpler to do that than to say, I'm nobody, but I want to rank for this set of keywords. The power that you need to do that is so much more. The work that you need to do is so much more. And you can save yourself a whole bunch of work by simply verifying, validating, and then solidifying the entity.
Yep. Okay, Keith's up. What's up, Keith? He says, I'm I have been using IFTTT Networks and putting other backlinks through them, but have a question. I'm coming up against some competitors that have a high number of referring domains. Do I need to match the number of referring domains? If so, how do I do this safely while using IFTTT Networks? Okay, so I'm going to give you two answers, Keith. The first one, do you have to match the number of referring domains? No, you don't. Because, again, link quantity does not mean quality, right? And so having a high number of referring domains used to be incredibly important to have. That was one of the ways that you could quickly judge how much work you had to do, was by looking at the backlink profile of a competitor or of the average, the competitors the people you're competing with, I mean, and then look at what their referring domains are. And you could usually tell, like, okay, if you've got 30 referring domains and all your competitors had 300 or more, you know what I mean? Then it was like, okay, I know I got a lot of work to do. But that's not necessarily the case anymore, because it's more about relevancy than it is about quantity, right? So you can achieve the same sort of results with just a handful of backlinks that maybe somebody else took 600 referring domains to get, because you have better quality backlinks, right? You've got links coming from highly relevant properties that are linking to yours, and so again, it's not a numbers game at this point. It's more of a quality game. That said, there are certainly ways that you can increase your referring domain count. My preferred method, hands down, is press releases. Absolutely, hands down, is press releases, because you can get a lot of referring domains from a lot of high quality, high authority sites that way, and it's done really, really quickly. Serpspace, we have two press release services right now. We've got the standard and then the press release plus, and the press release plus actually allows video and maps embeds, or any sort of iframe embed, which is freaking crazy, into the actual press release. No, I don't know of any other service out there that does that. And it also with the press release plus service, it distributes to over 350 properties. So you end up with a bunch of backlinks from a bunch of different sites, and you can even squeeze a My Maps in there or a Google My Business map if you want. But even like affiliate sites and non-local stuff, you can squeeze My Maps into that and have that pushed out through the press release distribution service. So again, I would recommend, first of all, don't focus so much on that. That's not necessarily, I would focus on getting higher quality backlinks from really relevant sources. Then I would worry about the number, but something as a quick hit, a quick fix for increasing referring domain count is just do a press release, and don't just do one. Press releases, guys, should, like, it's something that I do now all the time. So even on sites that are ranking well, I still try to issue publish a press release at least once every other month, so that I'm constantly hitting it with new news and getting that attention. And press release generate traffic. I know this because I put tracking links in press releases now that are, have click analytics basically. And I look, and even press releases that are strictly for SEO, not because I want them to generate traffic, they still generate traffic and get clicks through the links in the press releases. Does that make sense? So like I can go in and look at the link count, and even stuff that I would think was specifically just for SEO, I didn't care if it actually generated traffic. I look in, 3 weeks later, I've got 40, 50 clicks through the links in the actual post body. And so I know that I'm getting traffic from those, which is great referral traffic signals for your money sites. Okay. Does anybody want to comment on that? We'll keep moving. We're almost out of time. All right. Christoph is up. He's been in a Facebook group asking some questions, and we've got a little bit of issue only because, and so first, Christoph, I'm not picking on you, but you came into the group saying that you were trying a Google stack that you bought or built using the methodologies from some other training, somebody else out there. And then you came to us asking us why it's not ranking. Well, first of all, I don't know what their methodology is for building drive stacks, but if you build them to the way that we suggest, to our specifications through our training, then you probably wouldn't be experiencing this. But it's really hard for us to troubleshoot or repair something that you purchased or built from some other training company or some other group out there, because I don't know what they're teaching, and it's not what we're teaching. So I can tell you that unless you built it the way that we teach, or you bought it from us, from Serpspace, it's unlikely that it's going to work the way that ours work, because ours is proprietary. Does that make sense? So that would be like going to Fiverr and buying a syndication network and it being done very poorly and not working, and then coming to us and saying, I tried syndication networks, it doesn't work. Can you tell me why? Well, first of all, if you didn't buy it from us or use our training to build it, then it's, we can't really comment on somebody else's work, and it's likely because it was done poorly. It wasn't done correctly, not to our standards. And so again, I'm not picking on you, Christoph. I just want to let you know that also you need to be more patient, buddy, only because, and again, your setup may never produce results only because I don't know how it was set up. I don't know how it was built. I don't know what sort of methods they used. I can't tell you that because it's not my stack. It's not ours, right? But even if you had purchased a stack from us or used our training to build your own stack, linking from something to a Google site 2 days ago and not seeing results is, I mean, you're not being patient enough, Christoph. And again, I'm not picking on you. I'm just letting you know in the SEO game, especially now, like you make changes and it takes 3 weeks really to see results. Like it does. You have to be patient. If you try to force everything and if you are what they call SERP watching or rank watching every day, it'll drive you nuts and you're going to be impatient. And you'll do all these other things because you want to see movement right away. And all you're going to do is raise a red flag to Google that you're an SEO because you keep doing all this shit instead of doing a little bit here and then waiting and seeing what kind of results it has when there's about a 3 week delay, if that makes sense. So first and foremost, you know, I would recommend that you go ask questions about the stack that you purchased or built using somebody else's training from the people that you purchased it from or the training that you purchased from them, only because I don't know how it was built. Number one. Number two is just you need to learn to exercise a little bit more patience in the SEO game, or else you can end up causing more harm to your digital assets than good, if that makes sense. Okay. And Marco, I know you probably wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, I absolutely do, because I actually wasted time going and looking at this drive stack because I thought that it was that he was trying to reverse engineer our training, which I don't mind. I don't mind you going and looking and trying to match it up to what we're teaching. Go do it. That's how Rob got in with me. That's how I pulled in Rob and say, hey man, I love what you're doing. Come with me. Let's make this shit even better. And so I went and I actually, fuck man, I wasted my time looking at this drive stack and I said, holy crap, this is nothing, absolutely nothing like we teach. So you know, I was confused because he's in our group and I'm thinking he's using some of our training, some of what we're teaching to try to build and reverse engineer and try to succeed. Again, I don't mind when you do that. But then it gets posted that this is from, and I'm not going to say the name, from a fucking competitor who knows absolutely nothing about, well, I can't say that because I don't know if he built it according to their training or if they built it or what's going on. But it's crap. It's garbage. It's nothing like we teach. We teach tons of interlinking, tons of relevance, embeds. I mean, just a whole bunch of things that just wasn't done. We go through so much trouble that it takes our builders 4 to 6 hours of their time to build out a stack. I mean, to interlink, to do the, I mean, and even longer because they do keyword research, right? And they build everything out and they go into every file and folder and they interlink everything. We call it the spiderweb silo. There is so much work involved that most people just won't do it. Most people can't figure out how. And it was one of the surprising things about Rob. He's just so fucking awesome. I love Rob. And so on this, all I have to say is what was done has nothing to do with semantic mastery, has nothing to do with RYS Academy Reloaded. If that's the training that you're receiving, you're in the wrong training because they're imitators. What does Wayne said? Often imitated, never duplicated. RYS Academy Reloaded is the original training on how to manipulate Google by using Google.
Sweet, Laura, that's awesome. She basically just joined the mastermind from the thread today, and that's awesome, Laura. Welcome, by the way. I think you're gonna love it. We got a big project starting in 2018, and come join us. We're glad to have you. All right. We only probably have enough time for one more question, guys, from unfortunately, but this is from Vitali, I guess. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. He says, can interlinking Web 2.0 networks with embeds, videos, maps pointing to my money site help boost the relevance and authority, or will it create a footprint in Google's eyes and possibly trigger a penalty? What do you think about pointing Web 2.0 networks to a single video? Can it hurt the rankings? Thank you. Vitali, I think it is. It depends, right? Here's the thing. If it's a branded network, if it's a branded Web 2.0 network, which is what we basically teach, right? The syndication network, all digital assets out there should be branded, whether that's a corporate brand or a personal brand, right? Like a blogger, for example, or a coach would have, right? Either way, it's still a brand. And every single digital asset out there should have its own, it should have its own branded syndication network, basically, its own branded Web 2.0 and social media network, because that's natural, that's logical. So interlinking those and back to your money site is what we teach, because that's what is natural, right? That's what everybody does. They go out and build websites, and then they go out and get all their social media properties, and they link everything together. We just know, because we're SEOs, how to make it even more powerful, right? So absolutely. Now, if you're going out and creating persona-based, like standalone, separate and apart from the brand Web 2.0 rings, then no, you don't want to interlink. Well, you can interlink those, because each one of those personas, like we do persona-based brands all day long, right? All the time we build persona-based rings for like second-tier networks for YouTube, additional tier 1 networks for YouTube syndication. You can use them as second-tier networks for blog syndication if you know how to do it correctly. But the point is, each one of those persona brands is a brand on its own right. Let's say it's a John Doe. Let's say it's a John Doe site blog that you want, like a blogger, like John Doe is the persona. So there can be an entire syndication network with John, all tied together for John Doe, all backlinking or interlinking to whatever the primary site is for the John Doe network, which could be Blogger, Tumblr, WordPress. It could be self-hosted WordPress, whatever it is that you want. It could be a Facebook page, a Twitter account, anything you want. But all of the network properties for that particular network would all be branded for John Doe or Jane Smith or whoever that brand may be. And then you can use those networks to actually point links back to other properties. Now, I would not want to point just standalone networks to just to your money site. You want to, and as we teach in Syndication Academy, for 2-tier networks where it's a combination of a branded tier 1 ring and in persona-based tier 2 rings, you want to have additional content being published on those tier 2 rings. Your branded ring can entirely be content from one source, which is your content distribution engine, whatever that may be. Typically, it's going to be WordPress, or like your self-hosted WordPress site, your money site, or it's going to be YouTube. That's typically what they are, right? And so all the content going to your branded network can be 100% just yours content, which that makes sense. Why would you want to share other people's content on your networks? But on the secondary networks, supplemental networks, you don't want to do that, because they're not branded networks, and you can create a footprint if you're not careful. There are ways to minimize or reduce that, which is what we teach inside the Syndication Academy. Okay, it's a great question. Can it hurt the rankings? Yes, if you are for YouTube videos, I have never seen it happen. But for and that's the honest to God's truth. But for money sites, yes, if you are using syndication networks incorrectly, you can absolutely leave a footprint, and it can absolutely trigger a penalty. But again, if you go through the training that we teach in Syndication Academy, then it's basically a non-issue, okay? Because I've got stuff that's been up since 2012 when I really started this method that are still ranking and working today, and it's the same methodology that we teach. Okay. All right, guys. Sorry we don't have time for the rest of the questions. I apologize for that, guys, but we got to go. So we'll see. We have Mastermind tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, real quick, there's a question I think we should definitely answer. One, Jordan, thanks for being a big help to everybody. I know Mohammed and a lot of people appreciated you sharing the the docs that you shared in the Syndication Academy. So big shout out to you for doing that. And then also, Jim was asking, he said, outside of a new property here and there, what are the benefits of the monthly subscription to Syndication Academy? He was a member a long time back and was considering joining up again. Obviously, good time since price is going up in 2 minutes. But if there was more offered besides that. So I think one, I mean, I'll just touch on this real quick, is the community in there, people like Jordan who are actually out there doing the work and sharing a lot of the information. Getting access to the people in there is a big one. And yes, the updates are a big part of it. It's not like IFTTT has fundamentally changed in the last year. Obviously, there's been some big changes, but it still works. So I don't know, Bradley, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned in your question that besides the occasional updated property or new property, I mean, that's not the case. It's not the occasional. Like every month we do update webinars where we cover sometimes we add additional properties. Sometimes we're covering prospecting. Sometimes it's like last month, the last webinar that we did on November 30th or whatever for the update webinar. I think it was number 17. Anyways, Jordan, I think it was Jordan actually that asked, I think it was Jordan, Fowler that just asked some new content marketing guidelines for how to use, like what type of content, what type of backlinks and keywords and things like that. And so we spent the whole entire webinar basically talking about that. I went through a presentation on the best practices for content marketing. So again, it just, what I do is I look for questions in the Syndication Academy Facebook group that would be worthy of more additional in-depth training. Cover it deeper, essentially, and then I'll create training around that. Sometimes it's just stuff that I've discovered on my own that I share. You know, obviously I share as much as I can in there. Some stuff has to be reserved for the mastermind, but you know, our updates are not just occasional properties. It's actually a lot of stuff that we do in there. So again, it's entirely up to you. Of course, you can always come join and check out the updates and see, you know, what's valuable to you and extract all the stuff that would be valuable to you and your business. And then if you don't find the updates that good, then you know, then you can always cancel or suspend your service at that point. My point is, a lot of updates have been given. I think again, we've done at least 17 update webinars in addition to a lot of additional update, like just snippets that we put in throughout the training. For example, we've got the applets have changed in IFTTT for how to set up the Google Docs and things like that. And so I'm going to be covering that in this month's update webinar because, again, somebody requested that during the last update webinar. So I'm going to. So, again, if you have a request, come join us. Ask us what you'd like to see updated specifically, and we can prepare for some training for it. Okay?
Yeah, and if you're looking, not just whoever asked this question, but for anybody else, if you're looking at Syndication Academy, I do like to remind people, because I think some people don't know this, is that Syndication Academy is free for mastermind members. So if you're thinking about either one, keep that in mind in the back of your head and do the cost analysis. If it's worth it to you, it's a good way to save some money.
One last thing. People will suggest new properties, for example, in the Facebook group or wherever they ask a question or suggest it. And we will actually go in and explore and see whether it's worthwhile, how we can exploit it, and you know, how it can be used in conjunction with everything else that we're doing. So there's a lot of benefit to it. It's not just here's the properties that you use and the occasional update. There's a lot of things going on in Syndication Academy than just the occasional update. So that's just my take on it.
Also, if you mastered the Syndication Networks already, I would definitely join the masterclass, the mastermind. Yeah. Because it's just a matter of taking your business to the next level. 2018 is coming, and yeah, time to grow it.
Yep. And Laura, yes, Battle Plan is also included with your mastermind membership. So once again, welcome. Once you get into the Facebook group, Laura, we'll give you a nice warm welcome, okay? All right, everybody, thanks for being here. We will see mastermind members tomorrow and everyone else next week. Thanks, guys.